Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's NBA Sharp Betting Breakdown here on the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. I am your host, Michael Fiddle. It is Thursday evening, May 8th. The Wolves Game 2 just ended, where they got the Warriors back for the Game 1 upset. 1-1 in that series. Cruise control for the Timberwolves early. A 13-0 run to start the game. Never looked back. Won wire to wire. No problem for the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. We now go to Game 3 in every single series. This is going to be an important episode. This is going to be a strong time to bet. We said at the beginning of the playoffs, we said at the beginning of round 2, that when you are betting in these NBA playoff series environments, Game 1, when we get new series, and Game 3, when we see the first venue change, the first home court shift in each round, becomes the best places to attack with the most opportunity. So let me ask you guys a question to start this thing off. What do you think happens with home court advantage as the playoffs go on? Does it get bigger? Does it get smaller? We will break down all of that and why the value of home court in round 2 isn't always the same as round 1. And then how we could expect to see it in round 3 and 4. Take a guess. Drop it in the comments. Is home court advantage more important or less important as we continue to move through the playoffs? We have 4 games to break down. Game 3 in every series. The road team or the underdog, I guess now the home team, has stolen home court in every series. So Knicks are up 2-0. Pacers are up 2-0 in the East. Celtics and Cavs with their backs against the wall. The Nuggets took one on the road. The Warriors took one on the road. So we have some pretty even series, some desperation angles to play in, but atypical to what we normally see where it goes home team down 0-2. Now we have some road team down 0-2 spots. Let's break it down. We got Zeke saying Fiddle's putting his dog Bronny on the Cavs tomorrow. Bronny used to be on the Cavs. My Bronny actually is from Ohio, apparently, through all of the rescue and foster and vaccination paperwork. I don't even know if it's fucking real. Is she born on the real date that she says? Who the hell knows? Apparently, she's from Ohio. So would I put Bronny on the Cavs tomorrow? It's probably the only thing I wouldn't put on the Cavs tomorrow. The only time I lock my door when I actually leave my place, I live in a very safe community, but the only time I actually lock my door is when I leave Bronny in the apartment without me, because it's the only valuable possession that I think I have. Everything else is materialistic. That dog is my soulmate. We've spent multiple lives together, and I would be overexposed if I actually put Bronny on the Cavs, but everything else, put it on the line. Highs says, get down on it, fellas. Riley here is saying, let's go. He's also saying less important for everyone except Denver for that home court advantage stuff. We will get to that. Fiddle, are the Cavs still beat up? Asked Thomas. Thomas, that is a great question. The Cavaliers injury report is absolutely going to be something that we need to talk about. And it's absolutely something that we're going to get through to first. And it absolutely is a reason why I'm willing to put this cup, this computer mouse, this microphone, the lighting, the couch, the hoop, everything except for Bronny on the Cavs tomorrow. Let's open the FanDuel odds screen. Let's go to the NBA market for these game 3s. I will share the FanDuel odds screen because it is a legal and authorized gambling website. YouTube, just letting you know, it's legal, it's authorized, it's international, and it matches our beautiful blue logo and background. If there are better odds, I will happily point them out as we go through this. We will talk about where these markets have moved, what my best bets are, what positions are still actionable. As we go through this, there are a lot of places that I have bets. Like I said, these game threes are a get down on it type of spot. So anything that I mention as something that I've bet or released has been given out in our WHOP chat. You could find that linked in this YouTube video, in my Twitter bio, or in the audio feed on the podcast description. If you would like to get access to all of the picks in real time as a text message to your phone, come join the WHOP. It is $100 a month to sign up. However, if you leave a review, we will give you 2 free weeks of credit. And if we ever have a losing month, because we feel getting ahead of the market and getting these plus EV positions leads to consistent winning. If we ever do have a losing month, the next month is completely free for everyone in the group, no charge. People have recently asked me, Fiddle, have you had any losing months? What's the history of the WHOP? Can you? And I was like, I've only actually started the WHOP since June of last year. We've had one losing month. It was in November when the NFL and the NBA ran mighty inefficient CLV sides. Remember the whole talk about the NFL of like favorites are dominating and the public is crushing, and even FanDuel has lost money to the public bettors in the NFL this season. Yeah, I was on the wrong side because I was on a lot of sharp sides for the NFL and the NBA. So November was a losing month. December was free for everyone in the group. That has been the only losing month thus far. Let's hope it continues, except next November. I would like that not to continue. Let's start breaking down these game threes. It starts with the Cleveland Cavaliers visiting the Indiana Pacers, down 2-0, a spread Cavaliers minus 2.5, a total at 229.5. The same total we have seen for game one and game two. Despite all the injuries, despite the moves, there really hasn't been any shake to the total at all. So I am foreseeing very, very, very little movement, if anything, on the total here. There was a lone 228.5 that did pop up earlier, minus 112 towards the over. It was here at FanDuel when these lines opened. We did play a over 228.5. I do believe the over to be the right side of this market, even as we discuss the injury news that might come on the Cavaliers side, positive or negative. Games one, when Garland was ruled out, we didn't really see anything. Game two, when Defensive Player of the Year Evan Mobley was ruled out, when DeAndre Hunter, 6.5 Man of the Year, best 7th man in the NBA, great shooter, was ruled out. Again, no change in the total, and both games have gone over thus far. So I do believe it's an over or anything type of spot. Small half unit play for me on the over at 228.5. You guys can make up your mind how you are approaching that, but I don't expect much movement. Let's talk about the spread. Opened at Cavaliers +1. We are out to Cavaliers minus 2.5. Let me repeat that. Opened at Cavaliers +1 is out to Cavaliers minus 1.5. This is part of the reason why I have everything but Bronny on the Cavs tomorrow, is because I have a strong position on that Cavs +1. And the reason why I knew to play that Cavaliers +1 as soon as the line came out was because game two closed as Pacers +5.5. If we project that home court in the playoffs in round one can be about 7 points total, could even sometimes be 8 in certain situations. In the second round, closer to 6. If you put in a guess, does the home court advantage increase or decrease throughout the NBA playoffs? The answer is decrease. The value of home court advantage decreases throughout the NBA playoffs. And since we're talking about the Cavs, let's do a little windy. Why would that be? Why would home court advantage be worth less as you go through the playoffs? One, I think it is the closer talent competition that you see really large talent gaps in round one. That's why we play things like first round favorites. You see large desperation spots, usually like home teams down 0-2. I mean, the Grizzlies down 0-2 at home were up 37 points before Ja Morant got hurt, and then ended up giving up the worst playoff comeback in the history of the playoffs. So you see larger reasons in talent. Second, and I think this might be as important, is that you're used to the more hostile environment. You've gotten used to the shock factor of what the NBA regular season is, especially in March and April and after the All-Star break, to what the playoff atmosphere and intensity is. The t-shirts that are on the seats, the crazy fans, the whole hype, the people waiting outside, the feeling like the arena's rocking. It is natural at this point. It's every game. It's home and away. It's like, hey, you know what to expect. It's going to be fucking loud. So you do see situations where in the first round, if teams are equal, you might see -4 at one place and then -4 at the other. In round 2, you might see that be like let's say these teams are dead even on neutral courts. You're going to say one team home might be -3, the other one. And by the time we reach the NBA Finals, if we have like Boston and OKC and they're considered dead even in the power ratings, you're probably going to have OKC -2.5 or 3 at home, and Boston -2.5, -2, probably a slightly worse power rated, maybe -2.5 at home. It will tighten as we go further through the NBA playoffs. So, if the Pacers were plus 5.5, that was a long-winded way to get back to this. Why we're slamming the Cavs. If the Pacers were plus 5.5, and it reopens at +1 for the Cavaliers, it's about a 6-point move. So that is about exactly what home court advantage is worth in the second round. However, that 5.5 was the closing number after we got the injury report of Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and DeAndre Hunter going to be out. We also got to remember that this was the break in this series where they got an extra day's rest. This was a Tuesday, Friday type of spot. So we're not going to see, like, you have a higher chance of these guys coming back. You had Darius Garland saying he was optimistic for game 2 on the sideline of game 1. Then you had rumblings that it was really going to be a game 3 situation. Remember what we talked about at the beginning of the season? For the OGs that are here and still here, just love, appreciate you. Remember what we talked about following every beat writer in the NBA? That I sent a list in the Substack. Here's every beat writer with their Twitter, and it was linked and clickable, so you could just click it, follow them. It was even in a Twitter list for everybody. Chris Fedor is the beat writer for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I said it to Ian right before we came on the stream. I said, is it Fedor? If there were more French people on the Cavaliers, if it was a Wemby team, I'd call him Fedora. But I went to his Twitter. I see him publish an article, and it says minor injury updates for Cavaliers headed to game 3. And at this point, I saw it before. At this point, it was 7 hours ago when I go check the Twitter right now. And in that, it says all of them, according to Kenny Atkinson, Garland, Hunter, and Evan Mobley, all of them did on-court work. All of them touched the ball, was the words from Kenny Atkinson. On-court work and all touched the ball and participated in walkthrough. So that understanding, when I saw Cavaliers +1, I said the only way this is the right line is if Garland, Mobley, and Hunter are out again. If any one of those 3 comes back, I am going to be in front of this line. And now we see it at -2.5 because there is a pricing of, hey, they were 100% out, which it was just incorrect pricing, to now, hey, they're 50% in, 50% out. So if the guys play, if they all play, this is going to be Cavaliers -5.5. If two of them play, probably the more important ones, you get Cavaliers -5, -4.5. If just Garland plays, you'll probably get Cavaliers -3. If it's Garland and Hunter, 3.5, 4. If it's I definitely expect Garland to be part of the group, but like let's just say it's Mobley and Hunter, maybe 3.5, 4 there as well. So that's the probabilistic modeling of how you would assume that the injury report plays out relative to the pricing. And all that I care about is beating the closing line. That's it. Don't care that it's Cavaliers. Don't care that it's Pacers. I care that I bet +1. The current line is -2.5, and potentially the line gets to -5 or more. Do I think that the Cavaliers are still playable at this number? Let's find the best numbers on the market. If you wanted to touch that over 229.5, that is available -110 at Circa, DraftKings, BetMGM, Bet365, Bookmaker. Bookmakers, some of the times it's like a pretty low vig book. It's a sharp book, so they sometimes have lower vig on the lines. They're offering -110 to the over and only -107 to the under. So for them, they're putting a little bit more juice on it. That's like what Bet Rivers is doing right now, or FanDuel is doing right now, where it's -112 to the over. Even though Bookmaker is -110 on this over, it's -107 on the under. So it has more juice. It is shaded towards an over spot. So I would think that the over is worth a small play. Whoa, there are some threes popping up for this line for the Cavaliers. Yes, I would say Bookmaker -2.5, -119 on the Cavaliers. That is a steep price. Why wouldn't they just change that to -3, -105? Weird to see that. I would definitely say these -2.5s are actionable. DraftKings has the 2.5 -108. Now, I played this, I think, for like 2.5 units total as my play. I would not play 2.5 units if you're betting into -2.5. Like a big part of that is getting that early line. So I would play maybe half a unit now. And that difference is like speaks to the value of the WHOP picks and being able to get in early and getting some of these good lines. 228.5 towards the over, Cleveland +1, and then added on more at Cleveland -1. We will make sure we show all the picks. It is a 2-unit play. A unit and a half was put on Cleveland +1, and then half a unit was added on Cleveland -1. So I have 2 units, not Bronny, on the Cavs tomorrow. And Fiddle, are the Cavs still beat up? According to Kenny Atkinson, per Chris Fedora's writing, they all touched the ball, they all did on-court work, and they participated in the walkthrough. Is that all smoke because it's playoffs and that's gamesmanship? Maybe, but that's what Kenny is saying. That's what the line movement is indicating, and that's what we have to go with. As of now, it looks like Garland is going to play, and hopefully Mobley and or Hunter also go as well. Let's go to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just beat the brakes off the Denver Nuggets. We had one comment that said, less important for everyone except Denver, because that Denver altitude and that thin air. I would still say that Denver altitude gets less important as the playoffs go on. Riley, in this specific situation, they're also going against like the youngest team in the NBA. So I would hope that for a really young team, they're not as affected by that. Whereas like the veteran Clippers, like you saw how gassed Harden was, you saw how gassed Kawhi was. I would think it impacts them a little bit more. Also, that being said, generally, and this is true for all sports, so this is a great tip. The altitude in Denver, or the altitude, it also exists in Utah. We'll talk about that in 1 second. 2 things. The altitude angles for sports handicapping is a bigger impact at the beginning of the season. It wears off as the season goes on because the players continue to be in game shape. You know, you come in, like they say, Luka never comes in shape. Well, imagine if Luka goes to Denver in the first 2 weeks. It's that much worse. So for all of those players, didn't come in shape, doesn't have their legs under them, had a summer surgery, and isn't in quite game shape yet. All of those situations, that altitude looms larger as a factor earlier in the season. Now, Denver's still one of the stronger home courts around the playoffs. I'm not downgrading the Denver home court, just that the angle of going against the young OKC Thunder towards the end of the season makes the altitude slightly less, still a factor, but slightly less of a factor. Not no factor at all, but less of a factor. Pricing for this game came out minus 4.5 on OKC across the board, was a full unit play for me. Total came out at 234 and a half. Some places circa released at 234. We are now seeing a universal 233 and a half. Some 233s showing up now too. This was also released as a half unit towards the under. So again, full unit on OKC at minus 4.5. I'll look for the prices in a second. OKC under 233 and a half was the number that we released. So this same number at minus 110 for half a unit. So I will look at the totals. DraftKings has this total at minus 110. They are the only book left. Let's take your 10 seconds while I'm talking and pointing out the rest. If you have DraftKings, go scoop up a half unit of this Oklahoma City Denver under 233 and a half. This is similar to Pacers Cavaliers, where both games 1 and 2, literally exactly, both games 1 and 2 closed at 229 and a half in both of these situations, and both of them went over. But for some reason, Cavaliers Denver, well, I get it. It went like 30 points over, but it opened 4 points higher, 5 points higher in some cases, circa opening at 4.5 points higher than the previous close. Too much. Overreaction. Got to play it a little bit back to that 229 and a half. Small play on the under. Unit play on OKC. Let's find the lines for them. No minus 4.5s remaining, but 5.5 starting to pop up at some pretty important shops. Bookmaker minus 5.5, minus 111. MGM just moved it to 5.5. Some of offshores 5.5, Bet Rivers 5.5, exchanges mainly 5.5 with the favorite taking the juice again there as well. So I would play this OKC minus 5 here too. You want to play 3/4 of a unit, still a full unit, I'm fine with that. You want to play this under 233, half a unit, I'm totally fine with all of these spots. This feels still actionable. Obviously, having the 4.5 is helpful long run, but hopefully in this one-off it doesn't matter, because hopefully OKC smacks Denver again. They do obviously have a large talent advantage, and I do think a very strong matchup advantage, being able to throw Chet and Hartenstein on Jokic. I don't know why they're throwing Chet on Jokic as the first look. I would start with maybe they don't want Hartenstein to get into foul trouble too easily, because he's an important screen setter, and so he'd be more apt to be caught with like an illegal screen type of foul that could then really throw off the offense, where Chet is playing on the 3-point line, and sometimes it's just a corner shooter, so his chance to be the person that gets those offensive fouls is definitely less. So they're using Chet on Jokic to start, and Jokic just eating that man alive. Like, we called Jokic a Yokosaurus. That's really what's happening. Chet's being put like, and like there was a moment with Caruso like that. Like, there's been some perimeter players that have kind of been switched on to Jokic before Hartenstein slides over or J Will slides over, and Jokic is just putting these guys in a body bag and just walking them down to the paint. I still think this is an OKC series. I think besides that, OKC knows how to make Jokic's life a little hard. And then outside of that, it is just advantage Thunder literally everywhere up and down the board. You're really hoping for Denver to shoot the lights out of the ball. It has to be a Jamal Murray game. It has to be an MPJ game. It has to be a game where Christian Brown is fantastic two ways and efficient. It has to be a game where Russ doesn't cause too many issues. So I just don't see it for this Denver team at all. I probably am going to continue to ride OKC Thunder through this series. Looking at the Wolves and Warriors on the other side through the next series, and looking at the way that the Eastern Conference is playing out through the finals as well. I would venture to guess that if you bet OKC ATS every single game for the rest of the playoffs at open, you would end up with an 80% CLV rate and you'd be profitable. So yeah, let's pretty much probably plan on doing that. Let's move on to Celtics at Knicks. A spread at Celtics -5.5, a total at 204.5. Played unders in game 1 and game 2. Both games almost went. Game 1 did go to overtime. Still didn't get to the total. Game 2 almost went to overtime. Even if it went to overtime, I wouldn't have been worried it would get to the total. These games have been low scoring. Game 1 was like a 218.5 played under. Game 2 was a 211.5 played under. So 218.5 to 211.5, 7 points. To 204.5 for game 3, another 7 points in each of the first 2 games without any crazy injuries. This is just a holy shit. Did we get it wrong considering the pace and the way this game was going to go? So I feel very proud being on a under for games 1 and 2. It's a nice pat on the back seeing them reprice the game at 204.5. And now is the time where I step away. I will not be playing an under. I will not be playing an over. I will be playing. Boston was released at a -4.5 as a full uner. And if you guys know what full uner means with an R, it's not a unit. It is 3 units. It is a max bet. It is a max exposure spot. It is a whip your dick out. Put it on the table. Put a uner on it. Boston Celtics win game 3 resoundingly. So game 2 closes 10.5 to the Celtics. How much is home court advantage worth in the second round? About 6 points. So where does it open for game 2? 4.5. Is that right? It's perfectly right. Why is it at 5.5 now? Because desperation matters. Having your back against the wall matters. And therefore, it's going to go another 1 point. John Wall is here saying, Uner. John. I hope he's here. John can text me. He has my number. Zeke asked me if I was going to put Bronny on the Cavs. John wouldn't let me put Bronny on any sports bet. John likes Bronny more than he likes me in real life. Let's go back to talking ball. The Celtics desperation angle for Boston Celtics -4.5. It was obviously going to get stretched out to 5.5. They were up 20 in both games. If this was regular season, and I understand you can't say it as much for regular season into playoffs because everything in the playoffs is like micro scrutinized. How did they play? Oh, it was this little coaching mistake. It was this. And we blame everything and we play blame pie and split it up and we give credit to all these things. If that happened in the regular season, Boston Celtics blowing back-to-back 20-point leads, we would just be like, anomaly, throw it out. Pointless. Boston Celtics pretty much won both of those games. You're kind of considering them 2-0. You're saying those are 2% outcomes that just happened to happen. And now we're getting a great price on Boston because of that. And so that's pretty much how I'm viewing it. Everyone else can think it's like Knicks or Boston woes that they clam up late, that the Knicks are a super clutch team. I would agree with all that. but I would still say Celtics minus 4.5, given all things, was a great price, especially with the market at 5.5 across the board now. Looking at that 5.5, DraftKings still has a Celtics minus 5. I would say that is a get down on its spot. BetMGM has 5.5 minus 105. That's the limit that I would bet it. The 5.5s minus 110 are probably a stopping point for me. They're not a point where I would back the Knicks. Backing the Knicks would probably have to get up to like 6.5, 7 before I consider any playback or anything like that. Like, this is just a Celtic spot for me. But 5.5 minus 110s both way, I would have just sat this one out. 5.5 minus 105. So that's at BetMGM. Some offshores have it there. Let me keep sliding across. You could probably get it on the exchanges. Bet Rivers has it minus 109. Yeah, not too many places. But if you wanted it and you had the 5.5, you could stretch it out to a minus 105. That would be personally my stopping point for it. Price sensitivity matters a lot. Opinions don't. Let's talk the last game. Wolves Warriors. We just saw this play. It was a smackdown for the Wolves. Wolves were minus 10.5 favorites. They got bet out to 11 right before tip-off. There was a late sharp move still coming in on Minnesota. They got out to a 13-0 lead. They never really looked back. They would win by 20 plus. Steph Curry is not expected back for another week. Like, he's going to get reevaluated in what, 6 days, 5 days? He's not playing on Saturday. I think he's already like ruled out. So, released in the WHOP right when this game ended and before the show started was Minnesota minus 180 on the money line. I understand the lines opened at 4.5 and 5, and you understand the shift from 11 with the 6 points down to 5 with still no Curry, so the injury news remains the same. It was perfectly priced. This is perfectly priced. I felt like that minus 180 on the money line was a cheap spot for it, and I didn't want to lay points with the Wolves on the road with a low total. Asking them to win by 5, like if it's closed late, like this is a scary backdoor cover angle. So being able to get a good price relative to the money line, good money line price relative to the spreads was definitely worth it for me. Best price on the money line right now is minus 200 at ESPN Bet. I will say the same thing I said for Celtics. If you agree with this take and you feel like you can stretch it out, then fine. Play it at minus 200 or the minus 205s that are hanging around. But I wouldn't play it for much more. I wouldn't play it too strong at that price. I don't think you're going to gain too much value in either direction. So it becomes directionally correct, but pretty flat to the market. So that's probably a break-even long-term proposition, being directionally correct but flat to the market. So you can make your choice. If you agree with it and you want a little bit of action, I wouldn't bet anything too hard. Like, getting that 4.5 and movement through the 5 is important. Getting that 4.5 movement onto the 5 is important. Getting this Cavaliers +1 or -1 and getting it out to move to -2.5 is important. It is strong to get all of these CLV spots as we go to game 3 with these venue changes full circle. This is the time where it's one of the most valuable times to bet a series. So money line was played. Also, a small over was played at the number 200. So definitely some over movement and Minnesota movement in the very early market. I mean, that game ended less than an hour ago, and we're live already, and we're seeing 1.5 points of movement. Yeah, I wouldn't play anything in this total anymore. 200 was just not a great open. It was only going to go up from there. There was like no risk that it was going to go down to 199. Yeah, I would skip it. It's 201.5 or juice 201 across the board. I would skip this at this point. You can maybe, like I said, play a Wolves money line if you want it. Play a Celtics -5. I would play -5.5. I would stretch out to -105. These, I think, are both playable, maybe 3/4 of a unit on the spread, considering I played a full unit on the -4.5, half a unit on this total, still available -110 a few places, and Cavaliers -2.5 also. Like, I think all of these at this point are probably half unit, 3/4 unit type of plays. That does it. Let's see if we got any questions. I love that John Wall drops the unit out. Riley says mine's already on the table. If you could ever get OKC at -5, I feel you played and don't blink. I think what Lee is saying here is true universal to this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Like, the only time you wouldn't play them at -5 and not blinking is if they're at a healthy Cleveland or at a healthy Boston. Besides that, I would play OKC -5 anywhere and everywhere, even against the Monstars on Mars. Speaking of the Monstars, we have a quick WNBA topic to talk about. As I read through the questions, please drop a like on the video if you can. I'm seeing 470 people in the live stream right now. Awesome. I appreciate the growth in the show. I appreciate everyone being here. It's really awesome to see. Dilante dropping in. There's optimism that Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and DeAndre Hunter will all try and play in game 3 per Joe Varden. That is a nice spot. KT says you're taking all the favorites to win, huh? I am. Not only am I taking the favorites to win, because that seems easy, I'm taking them all against the spread. That is hard. Do I think they all win? I hope so. I think I'm going to win every bet. I don't expect to win every bet, but each one I make, I think I'm going to win it. So if we look through this card and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions played, I'd like to win 4 of them, and I'd really like to win Celtics and Cavs. I'm pretty sure I could win Celtics and Cavs and go 2-4 and still be profitable, because in gambling statistics, it's really just about the bottom line. John says he already bet Boston to win game 3 and the series, so I do like that as well. Good luck, John. Hopefully that series price becomes great. If Boston does win game 3, you'd have a nice edge on that series price. Okay, we have some WNBA stuff to discuss really quick. And we actually have some NFL stuff to discuss really quick, even though I don't discuss NFL stuff on the pod. What should we do first? Ian, W or NFL? He's throwing up the W's. All right. WNBA season starts Tuesday, May 13th. So my plan in terms of doing shows, because I am definitely a WNBA fan, I am definitely a WNBA bettor. I'd actually probably go 2 before 1. Like, I fucking love betting the WNBA. If you enjoy this show and you enjoy the approach that we bring to betting, market reading, originating lines with a model, understanding all of these variables, bringing in injury reports with probabilistic modeling of those things, what the values of these point changes are worth, what are the key numbers, and all that stuff. If you really enjoy the way that we handicap and the way that we break down the NBA and apply it to these lines and do really well betting it, you will. I highly encourage, if you have not, give the WNBA a chance, give the show a chance when we're doing WNBA shows. Try betting the W and just having your tickets and watching them gain CLV and have good value and hopefully end up cashing on those plays, and you'll end up being like, yeah, I like where I make money. People end up liking what they're really good at. It's just a natural thing. And so if you end up winning money betting the W, then you will end up enjoying the game as well. So it starts on Tuesday. The plan during the WNBA season is to do 3 shows a week like this at 11 a.m. Eastern. We are going to push it 1 hour back. During the summer, we're not going to start as early, and we will be doing 3 shows per week. Until the NBA season is over, and once the WNBA season starts, it will look similar to today's episode, where it starts with here's the breakdown of the NBA games that we're talking about. Switch screens, we're going to break down the WNBA games. Sides, totals, props, injury reports, market moves, best bets, what's still actionable, where is it across the board, all of those things. I mean, we're like a week and a half away. No, sad stuff. But we are like a week and a half away from having like 2 NBA games to talk about and then having 1 NBA finals game to talk about. So it will be like, hey, conference finals plus WNBA Thursday or however that looks. Once the NBA season ends, we'll just start doing W-specific pods. However, because the WNBA season is right around the corner, I was doing some futures betting and some win total stuff today. And I will say I bet over 23.5 wins for the Phoenix Mercury. That was available at ESPN Bet and BetMGM. I also bet Phoenix Mercury to make the playoffs at minus 480 at Caesars. I also bet Phoenix Mercury's Alyssa Thomas to be the defensive player of the year and Phoenix Mercury's Satu Sabally to be the WNBA MVP. So 4 WNBA futures bets placed, all on the Phoenix Mercury. They are going to be my team. Mercury is not in retrograde. Mercury is in my fucking bankroll this year. They made some huge free agency moves, and it is going to be a much different team, and they're going to be very good. And they also have by far the best facilities in the W because of the investment from Matt Ishbia. He is the best owner in the WNBA. Not in the NBA, even though he thinks he is. Okay, so that's W stuff. Let's talk NFL. Next Wednesday, May 14th, the NFL schedule is being released. Now, we already know who plays who. We already know what divisions are going up against which divisions. And you understand team placement, so you can literally just, who the Giants are playing. All, 17 games now? So you know all 17 opponents. 3 of the opponents are going to be doubled. So you have 14 opponents? Yeah, all 14 opponents are known for the Giants. However, on Wednesday, we'll get the schedule release, so we'll know exactly when those games are. And then you'll start to be able to handicap NFL futures through the lens of the schedule being released with things like rest disadvantages, travel disadvantages, and all of those things. How many miles, how many time zones this team's going to have 4 weeks in a row. This team's has a really easy start, but then it's going to get difficult at the end of the season. Like if you noticed that with the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule last season, you would have said, oh, bet the Pittsburgh Steelers over on their win total and then play it back with the under. And you would have bet the over 8.5 to begin the season. They would have started 3-0. You would have bet the under 9.5 at that season at much different VIG. It wasn't just a 1-win change. It was drastically different VIG. It created a very positive middle. It correlated with the schedule, and the Steelers had 9 wins. And so you would have middled that, but just essentially, I'm not saying, oh, everything's going to work out that perfectly. I'm saying there's huge advantages. Name of the podcast. There's huge advantages to being able to handicap with the schedule, knowing when games are and understanding rest and travel implications that we will learn Wednesday, May 14th. WNBA starts Tuesday, May 13th. We will be doing shows probably Monday. The next show that we'll do here is on Monday. Not going to do anything this weekend. We will come back Monday and do NBA games plus WNBA opening day. 500 people here joining the live stream. I appreciate it. It is over past midnight Eastern right now. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Let me show the bets that we went over. Here are all of my game 3 positions. Cavaliers +1 and -1, 2 units. That Cavaliers Pacers over 228.5 for half a unit. Thunder -4.5 for 1 unit. Thunder Nuggets under 233.5 for half a unit. Then you have Boston Celtics -4. Put your dick on the table. Bet a unit. Oh my God, it was -4. It wasn't even -4.5. Oh my God, that's even better. Wolves money line -180 and the over 200. Those were the picks that were released in the WHOP along with the 4 WNBA futures that I mentioned. There will be WNBA picks released next week after the preseason ends and opening day is priced. There will be NFL futures. There will be a lot more NBA stuff as we get through the playoffs. Thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to Ian in the back. Come join us in the WHOP chat. Again, last time linked in the video description here on YouTube, in the podcast description if you're listening on the audio feed, and if you're watching on Twitter, in my Twitter bio, in the link tree. You could find the Advantage Sports Betting Picks package. It is our WHOP chat. It is $100 to sign up. You will get texted all of these bets in real time with the number where the book is at and the amount of exposure bet. If we ever have a losing month, we will credit you in 1 month completely free. And if you leave a review, we will add 2 weeks free. Thank you one more time. Peace out. And as Patrick Beverly says, y'all subscribe to my podcast while you're asking me all these questions.
Y'all subscribe to my podcast while y'all asking all these questions. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod. And if you're a kid, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe.
Subscribe to the pod.